we go. Hi, hello, people. I hope you're having a good day. You've had food, water, everything you need to do, everything you need to get done. Surprisingly, I've gotten an amazing amount of stuff done today, and I managed to wrap up recording for... Hi, Plush! What's with the sniffs? What is with the sniffs? What is this? I managed to wrap up recording on Royal Realm, so episode 2 will be out tomorrow. Smells like tea and garlic bread. I'm not a big fan of garlic bread, but I do in fact have tea. So, halfway there. The ice machine is broken again, and I'm not pleased. What I am pleased about is we are going to be ending Passion SMP Season 3 in about a month. And one of the things we wanted to test out... Pumpkin tossed the garlic bread at your face. I missed that notification then. I'm not a big fan of garlic bread. So I guess I have this now. I'm just gonna put it over there. One of the things we wanted to test out... No, I said it just happened now. My cannon overrides yours. Okay, then. The new canon that's currently happening is Passion SMP is going to end in a month. The Season 3, we have not planned a Season 4 yet. Or when Season 4 will happen. But we are going to be testing several things during this last month. Because the traditional SMP is not necessarily what I want for the server. It is Passion SMP. This is a place where I am trying to help people craft their passions, as on the nail as that is for a Minecraft SMP. And that means supporting people in the best ways that work for them, and not necessarily what you'd expect out of a normal Minecraft server or experience. I don't care if we have keep inventory on or not. If it helps support people, that's what we're gonna do. If we turn on creative mode to help support people in their projects, that's what we're gonna do. For this very last month, we are going to have creative mode on. Everyone in the server has op. I trust them enough to do this. Everyone on the server is op. They can turn on creative mode if they so deign. And in Season 4, I want to start testing having creative mode every so often. Currently, last thing I said was we'll do it like once a month for 24 hours. I'm thinking of changing that to once a month or every 2 weeks for a weekend. Just to help support people, because I don't... the traditional Minecraft experience is not exactly what we care about here. We've already modded to hell and back. What I care about is helping and supporting people's projects. And giving people creative mode. I don't care if you summon in an entire inventory of enchanted golden apples or even command blocks. If that's what you need to get your stuff done, if you just want to stack up on all the stuff you want for the rest of the month, go for it. If that's what works for you and helps you get to where you want to go, because my whole thing with this is trying to break down as many blockades between, like, mental health issues, executive dysfunction, stressing over projects, and people enjoying the server. Breaking down the barriers between those two, and removing a lot of the issues. Doing this does that. And that's the number one thing I want to try and cultivate more and more of. So we are currently actively on creative mode. We can just go around, do as we please. For some reason, Axiom is in the server and World is in the server, but now you need a commercial license to do that, apparently. Lovely. I love that. I love that. I love that so much for me. That's great. Anyway, we're gonna hop over to gameplay. And of course, it's not on the correct... Oh, no, it is. It is. We're good. We're good. We are good. But yes, we are on creative, and the first thing I did was not get rid of all my stuff. I instead went over here. We have a cute little grave. And all of my stuff, if I get rid of both of these, all of my stuff is in this chest. Hydrate? Yes, I will hydrate. Also, welcome back, Billy Bob. I can't remember... did I? I have to double check. I think I made a channel point thing, a channel point goal, I think? There's something I did. There's some goal you have. Power-ups and channel points. What's going on right now? I don't remember what I did. Parasites mod pack! That has 8 days left. Because I completely forgot about that. Parasites by Forge Labs. I want to play that mod pack again because I think I'll be better at it. But it's a 10,000 channel point goal, so... Billy Bob, if you want to... I'm going to extend that. It was supposed to be 2 weeks. I completely forgot about it for a week. We're going to extend that another... We're going to extend that so it's now 16. There you go. Now you have 16 days left. How many pizza Lunchables can I eat until I turn into a pizza Lunchable? 3, 4, 5? Something like that? I feel like that's enough. Also, Axe, everyone has op on Passion SMP now, so you are free to turn on creative mode and get to working on whatever you so deign. Depends on how many are in a stack. That's fair. The first thing I did, challenge accepted. The first thing I did was immediately just go around and decorate more of the interiors that are going on. Mainly like little things just like this. The bees still don't like that I have stuff in here at all. Just little things around. 3 per pack. So like 5 of those would be 15. That's a lot. That's a whole heckin' lot. It's not even like a pizza dough, it's like a little non-slice, ain't it? Something like that. Pizza stack. I never finished this. We still currently... I never even finished the greenhouse. There's so much stuff I didn't do here. And I just haven't done. What did I want to do here? I had a list. I think I got rid of it. You need 93. Oh dear. Well, I can blend them into a disgusting smoothie and consume the 15 pizzas that way. Oh, my little footstool. I don't need... I'll keep bed here just because spawn point. I don't know what happened to my door. Maybe that's the first thing I should do. I should actually get myself a bedroom. Pop that to the side. Depends on how much you hate yourself. Challenge accepted. Oh no. I'm not a clue. Oh, I'm wearing my Royal Realm skin. Please hold. Is this Jimothy? What's a Jimothy? That's very cute. And a little Endy, can you change? Oh, you can give him different hats. That is adorable. There's my skin. Yeah, I know. What's a Jimothy? I don't know Jimothy. I don't know anything that's current pop culture. It's a miracle I know that, what's it called? Hail Mary exists? It's a miracle I know that exists, and that's purely because I keep seeing it on my Tumblr feed. And that is it. That is the only reason I know exists. I did get Jimothy, but I like him. Is it a Hail Mary thing? Or what? Is that what it's called? Is that what that show's called? I think so. I don't know. I don't know. Brain wants to work, but it doesn't. Jimothy's raccoon that was spotted in Seattle that has short spine. That thing! It has a name? I am aware that it exists, and I think that's also because of Pinterest and or Tumblr. I think that's Pinterest. But I didn't know it had a name. That is adorable. I'm literally on technically 3 social medias. It's Tumblr, Blue Sky, and Pinterest, and that's all you're gonna get from me. And every several months, I'll open up Instagram to clear out notifications, and that is it. Same thing with TikTok. I don't even have a personal account on TikTok anymore. Oh, you know what we could do? Let's get out of here. Let's go all the way over. Oh yeah, we're gonna ignore that this exists. How difficult, how annoying would it be to transfer over my floor's lava into the server? We're gonna test that out. I wanna do that. But I wanna look at... That's what this is. I see the raccoon tail, but I couldn't put together this was a raccoon. That is adorable. Every time I saw that, I thought it was a photoshopped thing or something. That is adorable. That is downright cute. So if you did not see the video, there are several things to mention about the floor is lava. I should be in the right world. Yeah, I'm in the right world. There are several things to mention about the floor is lava that gave me severe headaches in every form and facet. One, it was annoying to even figure out what shape I wanted for the volcano. The gradient wasn't too bad, then I'm like, oh, I'm gonna put a giant skull on the front. It'd be so funny if I made my skull, and then I realized with Axiom I can't really rotate it to be 45-degree angle. So I had to build an entirely new skull, and I love him very dearly. And then I slowly slapped together the redstone for this, and I got it all done. It was all finished, and we kept having scheduling issues with me trying to get people in to play it. And so I'm like, okay, it's probably just gonna be me and Axe. Let me quickly make an automatic switch, because that did not exist previously. And so I quickly hooked that up to the system, made sure it was all working and good, and then scheduling fell through again. By this time it's Saturday, less than 24 hours before I'm supposed to post the video. And so I decided, you know what, I'm hyper-focused on this project. I still haven't gotten rid of the Pokemon community game, I need to get rid of that. I'm so hyper-focused on this project, I'm gonna go clean up the redstone, because this is a knotted mess of spaghetti noodles of redstone. It looks horrible. So I went to go clean it up and give it like specific lines and colors and everything, make it look pretty, like make it look nice and understandable. I accidentally deleted all of it. By that point, I just stared at my screen and I turned off my computer and went outside. Couple breakdowns later, I came back, and then started recording the video that currently exists out there of me making this. And completely redoing all of the redstone and making it look nice and pretty, all color coordinated. You know exactly where everything goes. The only thing that wasn't hooked up over here is the release switch that lets you get out of this area. And if we go all the way back over, thank you, Axiom, for letting me fly through blocks. There are chests about the area that have a random chance of giving you either a wooden spear, a wooden sword, or a fishing rod so you can fuck over your friends while you play. And so you could come over here and go boop. Boom. Floor is lava. And this time it's not ran on a stupid wind charge system that if you dare spam it, it breaks. Also, you could tell you can't spam it anymore. You're not allowed to. It has mostly anti-braking mechanisms. But yay, look at my beautiful redstone. It's all nice and pretty. This is held together mainly by copper bulbs. Copper bulbs and comparators. It runs basically the entirety of this redstone. You look anywhere and you're just going to see copper bulbs and comparators. And all of these have to be different clocks, and it's great. I love having to do that for all my redstone. And then there's an automatic clock up here. Don't question it. This is how my clock ended up being. We're not gonna fret about it. I probably could have cut off this area and just done this. Actually, no, I can't because I need that thing. Whatever. It was a fun time getting it together in very little time. I did the redstone in one night, moved it over here, and then stopped recording, hung out for a bit while I made it all work, and the next morning had to immediately log on early in the morning and get the rest of this working, and then edit the video and send it. So that was a fun weekend. That was this Sunday. That wasn't that long ago. That was a week ago. I love that. Anyway. We can take a lovely oh yeah, there's a tiny little area over here for this is meant to be like a little campsite. And you can put your stuff away. But what I want to do, why is my live music not working? Because it doesn't want me to play my Minecraft parodies, that's why. What I wish to do is we're gonna come down. Hey, there's a trial chamber right there. We're gonna come down about right here, should do. And I want area editor, light medica, move to player. Move all of these to player. And then we're gonna move all the way over to this corner. And hopefully the light medica can catch all of. Oh, I need to go all the way up here because I have the smoke. And then corner 2. That does not catch all of it. We're gonna have to be very careful that it does, in fact, get everything I need it to. There we go, that's what we want. Is that enough? Nope. That needs to go out farther. But thankfully, I know for a fact, when you're in creative mode, it will just auto-give you the blocks, so we can just run around and get this done. And we're probably not going to get it all done today. We are doing an early stream because I want to go have s'mores with my family later. And it's not nearly dark enough to do that yet, so here we are. And that should be more than enough to catch all the redstone there. And then I just need to figure out a point of origin to use for this that I can rely on. I don't have my compass for some reason. There we go. I want the coral here too. That's another thing. Let's move that a bit. Nope, this way. Thank you. I'm gonna hope that I can rely... I imagine the trees should be the exact same, right? No, I don't think the trees will be the exact same. Hold on. I imagine this will be. Just in case, we're gonna 258, 118. Move to player. Spider farm, no. We're gonna do... Floor is lava 2.0. Set. Save. Oh, schematic saving task created because I have to load in the other chunks. There we go. Schematic saved. Okay. This thing I created after we started talking about doing the creative mode, so I'm like, yeah, I'm probably not gonna have to build this in survival, thankfully. Oh, that block don't exist because I got rid of it at some point. 258, 118, right? 258. 118. Here, probably. Load. Lava. Load. Is that correct? It seems to be. To be or not to be? I think that's correct. Seems so. Okay. Oh, so much of this is gonna be upset at me. Because there's a bunch of water here. How does one deal with such a thing? Turn on autoplace. I don't even know where the noodles are supposed to be. Because I know it's somewhere in the... Can I... Oh, because Axiome's not working. I'm not allowed to go through blocks no more. This thinks it's supposed to be stone, stone, stone. Probably sitting in the wrong spot for it anyway. Where is... Okay, over here. Where is redstone wire? Piston wire. Concrete, okay. So we'll be fine just starting from this height. And we can just vibe out as I slowly but surely attempt my best to get this done. Something I can do? Theoretically. Because world edit still works. Brush, sphere, air, and then G mask. Tall seagrass. Oh, that's very tiny. Hold on. 6. Oop. There we go. Because the seagrass is the most annoying part of this, because it just hates to let you place blocks over it. You can do it with the normal grass, but not the seagrass, the tall seagrass. So just utter butthead for no reason. Just yeet all of it. Goodbye. Goodbye, 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 goodbye. Thank you. Thank you very kindly. Okay. And back to doing actual import stuff. Why? It's... okay, apparently insists that that is there. And there's another there below that it's going to be upset about. And I'd much rather just make sure... we don't need to fill on all the stone. That's not nearly as important. As long as I have all of the actual blocks that we care about going on, I'm happy. Which is mostly just along these edges here. So we could get the terraforming that I so desire. That I require. Out of here. 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 You are not allowed. Not allowed. Not allowed. Not allowed. Goodbye. 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 Thank you. I simply wish to bring my beautiful baby boy, my floor's lava, into the server. That is all I wish for. It's all I acquiesce. All I request. I think all of this is fine, yes. Where was the... okay. This is the spot where we have all the redstone starting. I'll have to throw in a bunch of sponges later. It's not important that this is orange concrete. That's not an important thing in the schematic at all. It just helped when I was placing stuff, making sure, oh, this area is for this redstone. Am I even allowed to do replace? Nope. I can't do an instant replace block because Axiom's a butthead. I'm not trying to use it for a commercial license. I literally just want to use it on my server. It's not like it's a big multiplayer server anyhow. Like, I get Axiom's big, and you're probably losing out on some money for just have people using it so much. But also, bro, this was free like 3 weeks ago. I know it's free 3 weeks ago because I was having problems. I was having many problems just existing. And lagging out like crazy. And Axiom quickly moving over to the Axiom menu was the one thing that kept me from just actively dying to loading BS. Because I was literally just lagging out the server with my XP farm, and then I just never used the XP farm after that. I didn't even need it at that point. I probably could have done such a smaller farm and I didn't have to do like any of what I did. But I did do that. I did do that. I in fact did. Many things I wish to not do next season, and many things I wish to do. I have to think on it. I really want to at some point make a base that's just Little Block City. And I just want to make normal Minecraft things, but in huge form. Like, I'll make a book. And it'll just be a giant book. Like little Big Planet vibes, but literally just big thing, or small things big. One house is just gonna be a grass block. Just pixel art, giant grass block. That is that. Why can't... oh, that's supposed to stay as tall as seagrass? You suck. You suck. I'm not even gonna bother. Not a bother at all. Is there anything over here? Yes, no, yes, no, what? No, is this just all stone? Stone, stone, yes. Stone. What's going on over here? Is there things I need to do? Yes, there's things I need to do all the way over here. I missed a bunch. I missed so much of the bunches. We just need to get this done, though. We need to get this done. Also, I did seriously enjoy Wednesday. We did Skyrim, like Skyrim Legendary, and I had a lot of fun with that. And we had a lot of fun with Jerry. So I am going to take the time and make that a supercut. And I definitely say take the time because I have to slowly edit. Thank you, alarm. I have to slowly edit through it because my silence detection doesn't like picking up the NPC voices, so I have to go through the entire thing and find where I'm talking and who I'm talking to, and find the bits that they're talking, that the NPCs are talking, and slowly edit that in. And then decide if I even want to spend the time to do that with that thing, and if that bit of dialogue is important. Which is a fun fiasco. So, next stream, I am going to move around so many of my Skyrim volume settings, so the voices are extra loud as my voice, and I don't ever have to have that problem ever again if I ever wish to supercut it. The problem I run into in large part is if I dare move the silence detection lower, so it does pick up the NPC voices, then you hear everything in the game, and I literally have an extra hour, like half hour of footage to go through. Purely because of that fact. Purely and only because of that. Oh, there we go. And it is very annoying. Speaking of I'm just gonna get rid of the Pokemon community game. It just bugs down the chat more than anything. And it isn't actually fun or helpful, it just ends up being a huge annoyance. Where is this? It's probably in extensions, right? Extensions. Get out of here. Deactivate. And I assumed, is it dmod? I have to remove as mod? /unmod. Can I click on a username? No. Pokemon community game. There we go. Because I am tired of seeing that. It's cool, but I'm tired of seeing it. Oh, the night vision don't do a thing. It really don't do a thing. Okay. Lovely jubblies. Trying to think of the other things we're going to be attempting to implement and testing out for this last season or for the end of Season 3 of Passion SMP, as well as going into Season 4. Because there are some things that we can't really test. We have to test it as we start the new season, like having all our bases together and such like that. Also, this is wee bit laggy. Gotta love that. I'm gonna assume it's in large part due to the fact I have a giant schematic loaded right now. And it's telling me many blocks are incorrect, but we're not gonna worry about it too much. We're gonna do what we can, and I'm not going... 80% is more than enough. I am not filling the entire space. This entire space of stone that you're not going to see. That is a waste of my time, it's a waste of your time. It's a waste of absolutely everything. The only thing it was helpful with was in designing the thing. In designing the exterior. That's the only good it did. We're not connected yet. Well connected. Very slowly but surely. Very slowly. Gotta love this. Gotta love this. Gotta love it so much. Splash, block place. Oh, it's soul soil. Soul soil makes such a weird noise when you place it. That's interesting. Also, it's so weird being back on the server, because I've been on Royal Realms constantly this week to try and like catch up with recording and do this thing, do that thing, make sure I'm getting things done for the actual video I need to make. And I have pretty much made at this point, because thankfully I've at this point made it a habit to edit the whatever I've recorded every single day, which also helps me stay consistent in being like, okay, this is what just happened. This thing happened and broke my recording, so I have to account for that. Or reiterate some points and just talk about some things if that works better. Or to be like, yeah, okay, this didn't happen, I'm not going to mention it because as far as the viewers know, it didn't happen. Like, I lost my horse, Mech? Yeah, Mech. I kept calling him Mech. His name's Mech. I lost my horse Mech, Romanetshite. What in the world's going on? Okay, this is where I'm supposed to be. I lost my horse Romanetshite in probably one of the worst possible ways I could have. Because everything would be fine and dandy. I had been running around the server to get more food because I barely had any left. And it'd been fine. I had gotten a whole bunch of food. I'd been heading home. I was gonna go to bed soon. Just log off for the night and be fine and dandy. And I go through the nether to get home. We currently do not have a nether hub yet. I made our budget nether hub literally today after I finished recording, which is aka I put down a bunch of stone bridges with railings, because currently the bridges we have are 1 block wide and no railings. And we had before. Now we have 2 block wide with railings. Also fancy, and torches. Very, very fancy. But I had to extend some of the area we were working with because I couldn't get Mech through. He's a speedy horse, but he wasn't a high jumper, so I couldn't really do much about that. And I'm getting in the home. I dig up some lava drops, like, oh yeah, whatever, I'm gonna keep on digging, it's fine, just get rid of it. And I finish the staircase and I turn back to Mech, and I see the lava had pooled in his horse hole and there was no more Mech to be found. There wasn't a thing left, I didn't hear it happen, he was just not there anymore. And that's the kind of death that hurts the most, because you don't even expect it to happen. So I've been spending the past several days since that happened trying to slowly breed up a new horse, but it seems one of the horses I had from the original bout before I started using Mech as my main horse, Clay, is still my best horse so far. And he's above average. He's not the horse I want, but he's currently the horse I need. He's running at about 13 speed. Just over 13, he's like 13.5, and then 3.5 jump height, which by far is not horrible, but I'm used to maxed horses because Misty has spoiled me with beautiful horse mods. Horses are very useful in Minecraft. Minecraft has just made it downright impossible to get a good horse. That is the only problem here. Literally the only one. Otherwise, horses are fantastic. It's just so annoying to get them, for no reason. Even the way I'm getting fast horses right now is botched to hell. The only reason I'm able to get a somewhat fast horse is I occasionally, rarely find a good one in the wild. What? I don't know why it wouldn't let me place that. Occasionally, I'll find a decently fast or high-jumping horse in the wild, and then I'll come home and I have to make both swiftness and jump boost potions, because the game is ever so slightly broken. And if you give a horse or a mule or what have you a swiftness potion or a jumping potion and then breed it, the game thinks that its potion effect status is its actual normal stats. So, using that method, you can kind of force better horses out of your not-so-good horses. Why won't you place the muddy mangrove roots? I did not foresee this being a major issue. Because why would I? Why would that ever be a issue? Okay, this is gonna be great, because there's, but this is just the very bare minimum of mangrove roots. There's way more of these. So that's fun. We love to see that. Great. Utterly fantastic. Cool. We love that for me. Why is there, like, no background music playing? What's happening? It's just a quiet intro. It gets me every single time, and so it's the same song. Let me place. Thank you. Are we good? Yes. Thankfully, because it's just a giant tube. Elongated tube. Once we get past a certain point, it just starts becoming easier and easier. Because it's going to be less and less for me to place. It's this area that's the real stinker. Oh, I've completely forgotten the middle part over here. Oh, I'm not. It won't let me, because... Oh. Okay, where's the edge of the concrete? Over here. Let's fill this in. So I can come back here later. Was this supposed to have? Okay. So I can fill this in. Yeah. Okay, apparently that's just empty. So I can just do a bunch of sponge in here, and hopefully then it'll be fine. Oh wait, could I literally... Stand over here. Pause 2. Let's get rid of the G mask. Oh, / replace air with, or replace water with air. Yes and no. Helpful, but also it was somehow definitely not helpful. Oh, once me. Oh. I forgot I excavated a huge area down here for this. Why won't you place the muddy mangrove? Action prevented by easy place. It's mangrove. It's mangrove root. You're supposed to be here. This is the correct thing that you need to be placing in this moment. I'm going to get very pissed off at you very quickly, aren't I? I think I know exactly how this is gonna go. Just an inkling of a thought. Just mayhaps. At least, like, most of this is just blackstone. It's fine. Another reason why I would have hated to attempt to gather this in survival. It would have been decently fine, but I would have had to get absurd amounts of it. Absurd amounts of all these blocks. Do I even want to know? Do I even want to know? Materialist. We're gonna ignore the stone. Black stone. 5,474. That'd be over 3 shulker boxes. I'd need over still a shulker box and a half of muddy mangrove roots, a shulker box, over a shulker box of brown terracotta, soul soil, orange concrete, orange terracotta, magma blocks, light stained gray glass, like gray stained glass, smooth quartz shroom lights. Not to mention crafting the observers, which is just annoying. We have the auto crafters now, but still. And all the little blocks I used. I mostly reuse stuff, but also still. Lot of items. A lot of items. I don't know how big of an area over here did I do. Decently. Okay, lovely. I forgot this area had also been excavated at some point for the release mechanisms. Yes, yes. There's a couple areas here and there that had to be excavated as well for this purpose or that. I feel like every time it just fails to place a block, I can almost guarantee. Yeah. Pretty much without fail. Excuse. Out of here. Out of my face. Thank you. It's gonna be such a consistent issue. Why would that even be occurring? That's my question. Is that a thing I can just immediately solve? I would love to know. Light Matica! Can't place. Muddy mangrove roots. Health, easy place. Easy place mode, started using my Matic a few months ago. Got error message, everything's going fine, and then whoop, it doesn't. I couldn't place box. Action prevented by easy place mode, but the options, easy place. How to fix action prevented by easy place node. Anybody find a fix? Recent pick block issue. If you have the default allowed pick block slots 1 through 5, if you have the tools on all those slots, then the mud has nowhere to pick lock the item to. Modify your generic pickable block slots. Maybe. There's also a GitHub of them having problems with specific ones, so I'm gonna just say generic. How many slots are you allowed? Where's 6, 7, 8, 9. There we go. So now it should go through all of my slots. Oh, maybe that is literally the thing, because it wasn't in the 5th one, it was in the 6th one. We'll try that out and see if that fixes anything. Who knows? I don't. I haven't ran into Muddy Mangrove yet, though, is the problem, so I can't honestly say. Get out of my way! Thank you! I don't know, we'll see. We will see. The Yetis were certain. I have such weird placements of things here. There we go. And then I'm also gonna have to get, I think we'll be fine after this, because most of the stuff's above the water level, thankfully. I should have probably made sure when I was designing this that it was above water level, but it's fine, I guess. Nope, still mad. Still mad specifically. Because there's air here. Is it because it's supposed to be air here and wants to be waterlogged? No, it just doesn't like placing it. That is the correct way to place it. I don't know why you're upset. That is how you were meant to be. Items leave my inventory but do not place in the world. When the stack of items that touch it regains the blocks used. No solution. Still happening. Multiplayer the server. Probably has to be set correctly. Generic. Is a setting I need to enable? Generic. Entity data sync. Entity data sync. Enable it. Entity data sync. True. And then easy place protocol version auto. Easy place protocol version auto. We good. We are fine. Cool. Fantastic. I forgot I had green terracotta for a second. I went, wait, what? Why is this here? There we go. Have all the things in the correct spots. And make sure... OBS is very upset about me having all of this up. Might I add? It is very, very displeased. But it's fine. It's fine. It shall deal. And if it doesn't deal, it will. Hopefully it's still fine regardless. Whoop. 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 There we go. I honestly don't care if the mangrove gets placed incorrectly. Tis is what is. I'm gonna change it over here. Pause 1. And then replace water air. And now if I page down, mostly okay. I need to pause 2. / pause 2. Replace. Thank you. Mostly. Oh, I missed this entire spot right here. No. No, you are not allowed to be. As such you are. Thank you. That should be the last of it, yes. And I can finally place down the redstone that I need. Thank you. Will it be fine, or is this directional? Yes, it's directional. Okay. Well, I accidentally... No, it won't let me mess with the repeaters. Thank you! Not Axiom, this is Lighmatica. Thank you, Lighmatica! For being absolutely amazing and giving me the tools to fix the things I need to fix. I can get rid of that now. Fantastic. How far are we? We're not too far in. Oh, wait. I think OBS is telling me the timing correctly. I think just perhaps, just mayhaps, if I dare check the actual runtime. Because I believe I clicked live an hour ago, not 25 minutes ago, OBS. You are incorrect. You are not telling the time correctly. I just want to see 46. Okay, 46 minutes. I just need to know the correct time, OBS. That is all I ask of you. You just need to send the video, make my mic work as it should, and give me the correct frickin' time, because I don't know why this is a consistent issue I have, but sometimes it just gets really upset at me having stuff open. What? Oh yeah, because all of those need to be 4 back in order to line up correctly with the timing I have. Oh right, I need to do all these. With the timing I have for the little notification timer. Oh wait, can I just... yeah, I could just do this in large part. Because Lighmatica is fantastic. Bruh. Oh! I forgot. I forgot. Yeah. Okay, how much should we remove? Are we fine? No. Okay, now we're fine. Nothing's screaming that it's upset. I'm going to assume this is all fine. I need to go both that way and that way. I still need another layer of observers across this entire thing, and this one's more annoying because I have to be looking down, directly down for all of these. I will fix after, thank you. Welcome to the lovely redstone. There's probably a better way to do this, I do not know it. So this is what we got. This has been happening all day. My mouse has like a little thumb pad on the side, and currently it's falling out of it. It's moving around, and it's so uncomfortable against my hand. I hate it. I'm half tempted to just utterly remove the little pad entirely, but then I'd have like a little sticky spot, and I don't want that either. Where am I? Where? I don't know where I am. Where am I? Where? Am I still a layer down? Yes, I'm still another layer down. Thank you. Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you much. I love slowly milling about my day, trying to get this stuff done. I knew I wanted to at least stream Passion SMP tonight. I didn't want to just leave off without a stream. I wanted to at least do something on here. Little knowing that I have to... This is the only really thing I had on my mind where I'm like, I kind of need to get this done. I need to seriously sit down and think of what I want to do for the rest of my days. At least like a shell of something. Just do something with it. Maybe I'll do that next. A lot of the things we're doing to help with the seasons and such the new rules we're starting to do, or events, is a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. So, like, we're personally off-camera just going to start doing body double days, and then Saturday stream days. I don't know why it thinks it needs more over here. So we can help support each other, as well as, like, resources, so we can help each other out with getting actual resources in the game, or even if it's just like a content question, be like, hey, I'm having trouble with this, please help, send help, I don't know what's going on. More and more things like that. I want to see, I recently learned about amplified settings. You can change your world to be amplified when you're loading it in. And I'm very curious about it. It looks so cool, and I think it'd be really cool to have that on a server, have an amplified seed. And, or if possible, I would love to do smaller biomes. I would just love to have a bunch of tiny little biomes that aren't bigger than maybe like 20 chunks. Just little tiny biomes across the entire thing. That's probably going to be a mod we'll have to find, a generation mod. And then I'll have to go around and see a biome that has like, everything we could want, literally everything we could want in a small area. So we can all just base close together, and it'll spur on more interaction, we'll be closer to each other so we can help each other out with things. And it's not nearly as far for making community stuff either, because we're all just going to be right there. It's probably going to be no more than like a dozen blocks away from each other in another hub. Which certainly helps out a whole lot. Something, when you're close to other people, it creates that false intimacy. But it is actually nice, especially when you're in an SMP like this, to be hanging out close together. It makes it 1,000 times easier to go over and mess with your friends. If they so wish to be messed with. It's still important to have consent. Also encouraging more teamworky stuff and helping each other out as well. Very much so that. And having more events is another one we want to try and test out. Smaller stuff, so probably not huge things that I've done in the past, like the pillar deploy during Season 1. Probably nothing super crazy like that. Just little things, maybe we decide, oh, we're gonna go do a minigame, or we'll help out this person with their base this week. Whoever fits the vibes of what we want to get done within the SMP. Or maybe then we'll be, oh, we're just gonna swap each other's bases. Whatever you're working on right now, I'm gonna go finish it for you, and then you can finish the thing I've been procrastinating. That actually that sounds like a genuinely fun event. I need to write that down, that actually is fun. Procrastinate swap? I like that a lot. I do like that a lot. I do need to write that down, because that is fantastic. I'm literally just gonna write only procrastinate swap, and assume what I need later. Procrastinate swap. Procrastinate swap. And we'll add DSMP. So I remember, oh. There we go. So I remember that. Also, tomorrow we'll be working on Amalgamation D&D. I found a city map I would like to do. There is a medieval city-town map generator you can find. This thing's way old, this old GitHub project. Hey buddy, out of the way, thank you. And I found a decently sized thing I would like to do. I might make it smaller. I might need to genuinely go and make it smaller, because it's a huge thing. I'm not sure if that's the exact size I want. Because this is just a starting city. This is not, we're not going to use it for any more than that. This is just, oh, a nice, cute starting city. I'm not planning on building any more cities than this. I just need a cool area for tavern. And so I need to plan this way bigger. Quite a lot bigger, actually. OBS, will you be mad if I try and add an image right now? Perhaps. It's not even loading that I'm trying to add image. Okay. Hopefully tomorrow I will actually be able to show what I was initially going to do, and I will see if I have the time to attempt to remake it real quick. And something else, because I took the map it had given me, and then slowly did pixel art and lined out the buildings. I think I just need a way smaller map. I really like how it looks, but I think it just needs to be way smaller, because currently the thing is absolutely massive. It is a genuine like, city, like you need doing a roleplay. A full roleplay within this town size of city, instead of, this is one scene, you're not gonna go in any of the buildings, I literally just need a tavern here, we don't need anything else here, I don't need to be doing all of this is a ridiculous amount of work, it's making me progressing the project more, instead of actually enjoying the progress of it. Maybe I should push it around, just maybe, just perhaps, that would be a good idea. A little thinky thought. I'm definitely gonna make it way smaller. I'm just gonna hand cramp, because I wanted to like copy it down onto my little side journal as well, so I'd have it physically and I could edit it or add on notes as I would, and I'd also have like some paper trail of, oh, this was the thing I was doing, and I could come back to it later and be like, oh hey, right, I was working on this project, this is actually a really cool thing, let me reuse this somewhere else. But this is too much. It's very much too much. Very, very, very too much. I still can't believe we're not beyond the water yet. This is a thing? It is a thing? Might be blue. It's okay. Oh no, no, it is very annoying about that. I know you're trying to tell me to place stuff over here, but I can't tell all of what you're trying to tell me to place over here. I think I just need to go from this angle, so I can go across the entirety of it, because there are definitely areas I'm missing right now. Because of one reason or another. Oh, I don't know if that's what you're going to want me to do later. Sometimes it gets really confused by me holding down click and just start spamming blocks for no reason, and then gets mad. Like, why did you spam that block? That's not supposed to be. You let me. Your easy place thing, your easy place warning didn't work. I don't know why you're mad at me. You're the one that let me do it. You told me I could do the thing, and I got mad I did the thing. I don't know what you want from me. I'm trying to tell you all the things I want to happen, and then you went, oh, none, that's fine. And you got mad because it wasn't fine. It wasn't fine. You're just mad at me now. I squid. There he goes into the Red Sea. Probably the meanest thing I can do at this point would just be go over and just fill that entire middle area of stone, because I could do water replace with stone. That is an option. That is something I have in my repertoire. At my disposal. All the fancy words to say the things I wish to say. As my brain turns too much. Because streamer brain is as streamer brain does. And something low social battery. This is something I've, like, personally debated with mentally in my head for a long time. I can't figure out if I'm an introvert or not. Because I am absolutely explosive bubbly with, like, the people I'm like, oh wait, we're good? I can do this? Cool. And then I'll word vomit everything you could ever know. Everything you would ever need to know immediately. But I usually also sit back in social interactions. And I tend to exist by myself, but I do need to be around people. So I keep going back and forth between, am I a butterfly, like social butterfly introvert, or am I a loner extrovert? And I cannot for the life of me figure out which. Because I do, to some extent, need people to recharge. So that always gets me leaning towards the... I need to go that way. That always gets me leaning towards the extrovert loner type more than anything. But at the same time, I think the problem also lies in I just get overstimulated by people. And so I end up just kind of chilling out, calming down like an introverted person would in that situation. Especially if I'm also tired on top of it. So yeah, that kind of cements in my mind the extrovert loner. I need to fix that block to whatever it needs to be. Thank you. Where is the end of all these blocks? Where am I only stone again? Because I have a lot of texture over here and I can't do it from the surface, and it's very, very annoying. Come on, just let me just... I'm not trying, thank you. There we go. Please. Please. Okay, stone. Bunch of stone. Bunch of stone. Bunch of stone. Thankfully, World Edit, it just stops. It will only... It's annoying most of the time. Sometimes it's really nice. But it'll only change the blocks. Same thing with Axiom. It'll only change the blocks that it can see on the surface. It won't change anything below that. Which means I have a perfect area where it stops... And I know it's covered, and I don't actually have to do all this area. The stone gives me a pretty decent outline of where and where I don't need to build. However, I can't tell what is or isn't stone, because it's all just red blocks. It's all just red. I could do a non-transparent, but I think it's still gonna do red, because of all the water. So it's just gonna be upset no matter what. I might as well keep it as the Red Sea that it is. As it continues to stay upset with me. Place all the blocks, thank you. I will do the layer above the water and then we'll wrap up for the day. I think is how we're gonna go about this. I could do just all the redstone real quick instead, but I think it'd just be faster and easier to get the next layer after this done. Because this area is the only spot more I need to do. And it's just being annoying because I have a bunch of shoreline here, rocky shoreline. That's all textured and pretty looking. But it does mean I need to check and see. Okay, is there texture here? Is there texture there? I don't know if that's supposed to be texture. So I'm not on the right layer yet. Excuse me, Drowned. I need to be able to place blocks here. That would be great. I don't think I'm allowed to. Dude, go down like a tiny bit. Your hitbox too large. Your hitbox just a tiny bit too large. Thank you, Birdie. Thank you, sir. There we go. Lovely. Lovely jubbly. Okay, seriously, where's the end of this? Where's I textured too much. I don't know what's what. I wish I could just print this into the world, but World Edit is not happy with me the last time I tried to do that. Something, you need to have World Edit on the server, even though it was, or you need to have commercial license, blah 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 blah. Something like that. Okay. That should be a full shore. For sure. Page up. And now we're on the topsoil. We're on the first layer. And this should progressively get easier and easier and smaller to work with. And for some reason, OBS still thinks I haven't even been streaming for a half hour. It's been over an hour. It's currently stuck at 29:35. Lovely. It really doesn't like me having Lightmatica up. It really does not. It just doesn't. Coral. Need a bit of coral. Coral, coral, coral. Thank you. A bit of coral. And then coral, coral. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I don't talk about this on stream. I've been trying to hack my AG. I've been trying to hack in the same thing as the server, deal with procrastination, executive dysfunction, etc. And currently the way I've been hacking it is by rewarding myself with Stardew. So pretty much every task, I think streaming is one of the only things that doesn't like have a reward. It isn't rewarded with Stardew, it's just, I get to stream, that's fine, I love that. I like streaming. Currently streaming is like one of the few things that doesn't get rewarded, but otherwise everything has like at least 1 day of Stardew if I finish it. And more I put it off, especially the things I really like doing and I want to do, but I haven't sat down to do it yet. Like I want to do this one doodle from fandom, or I want to sit down and play a game and play Roblox because I have that update. I'll go do those things, but I haven't. So currently the reward for those is sitting at like, if I finally sit down and do that and let myself enjoy doing that, I will get a week of Stardew. Or like I need to sit down and finish some emotes for Misty. And so that's currently also rewarded for a week of Stardew. And contrastly also, in part because of, my brain has also gone, you know what, I want to have a day where I just do nothing but Stardew. I would love to have that. I'm going to work the hardest I can and just rack up as much time as I can. Because currently what's been happening is I will do nothing but play Stardew. Because I'm procrastinating this thing or that, not out of executive dysfunction, and I'm stuck playing this thing even though I don't want to, and I can't get myself to log off. No, it's just genuine procrastination this time. Or timeline. This was the other problem I had with Stardew for a while. Thankfully, timeline is not a problem I have anymore. Jeez. Every single time I stream, immediately just itchy as possible. I need to remember to take an analogy med before I stream, and I never do. Not once have I actually successfully got myself to do that. What usually happens each day is I will sit the entire day playing Stardew until I run out of time to play, and I run out of days, I'll check mark them as I go, make sure, okay, so this new day, so I can go get this thing done real quick, so I'll do that next time I log on. And that keeps continuously going through. Which I guess does kind of fall into the I can't get myself to log off, but it's more, I think it still falls into the procrastination. Because I literally have a notebook to my side for Stardew, so I don't forget the thing I'm currently working on, I'm trying to work towards, or I still need to get that thing. And I need to remember to check the frickin' bush at the end of the season. I've forgotten multiple times in a row. Because of some secret or another, I don't remember. I think that's a star drop. Anyway, I will use up all of my days of Stardew that I'm allowed, and then I'll immediately start running around trying to get tasks done so I can have more days of Stardew. Which, to be fair, it has made me decently productive. But I feel like there could be better ways to go about this instead of that. Another way is just, one of the books I read recently was Lazy Genius. And it brought up the idea of, like, people associate two ends of the spectrum of effort as being like actual genius, having all your shit together, having everything done, and then the other end of you don't care at all. You don't care, you're just doing what you want, and it ends up kind of also falling into a certain toxicity, both of them fall into certain toxicities, where if anything dares go awry on one end, if anything dares go awry, then everything's horrible and it leads to absolute meltdowns. On the other end of being lazy, you're just letting horrible things happen around you and you're not really doing anything to help, and it just ends up being really self-harming instead. And it's suggested the middle route of, hey, there are things you care about, you should absolutely put effort towards them. But also, maybe you don't need to care so much about this thing, because that's really just not for you, not something you actually care about. Like, if you weren't told to care about this, or you didn't see that you should from somewhere else, you wouldn't. You don't need to have like, a perfect outfit every single day, you can just exist if that's something you don't care about. And so I'm realizing, for me, one of those things is the consistent healthy diet, making sure I'm drinking a shit ton of water. The moment I switched to letting my blood be iced tea, I've been so much more productive, probably also because I have decent blood sugar now, but I'm gonna choose to ignore that part and pretend like letting myself have the fun drink and drinking the thing I want to drink is the reason I'm doing this. Okay. It didn't take too long. We were gonna push for an elevator. I need to port I have not done that elevator. Oh, I need to fill each of these. Okay, dispensers I'm gonna fill off camera. I am not doing those on camera. No, sorry. No, sorry, I'm not doing that. It takes forever, and it's just this little annoying thing I despise. I'm gonna turn off. There we go. I despise very much, very much. At least this is decently fast, though. Thank you, Matica, for instantly placing blocks. This would be so much more annoying otherwise. That's satisfying. That is very satisfying. And then should be mostly spammy after that. There's occasional few spots that it isn't so spammy, but in large part this is still very spammy. We can get this redstone set up for next time, and I think we'll leave it off here then. I'm not gonna do another full row. We can just leave it here at a very short but sweet stream. Set up that. Is there anything else? Probably just safety. Do a lip around this. Because I do not trust. Clear. No, weather. Weather. Clear. Time. Day. I'm the only one on. So we are fine. We chillin'. I'm definitely gonna actually have to work on the SMP because the next week's video will be the SMP, so... I'll have to see what ends up occurring if we... So leave that here, I'll probably have that done by the next time. We stream? Bit of a shorter one, but that's fine. I don't know how long stream will be tomorrow. I'll have to see what I can get done before stream. I'll most definitely be working on Amalgamation D&D. Probably, I want to work on it, but I'm still having a lot of bars of procrastination with that, so I need to figure out why those exist. If it's something with the project itself, or if I just need to tear down a lot of the barriers of like, oh, that's a lot of work, I don't really want to do that. It's probably just, that is a huge thing, I don't want to build all of that. I have a feeling that's what it is. So that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. Next stream will be tomorrow at 7 PM. However, there is going to be a video at 12 PM. PST, there you can get notifications on the main YouTubes. There is a panel down below, or you can do !YT if you are seeing this on the YouTube VOD channel. There will be a link down in the description. Or if you're seeing this here on Twitch, you can always go over to the About page and see the little link there. Otherwise, MutationCIP. Or you can just go over to the Discord, the link in the same places. And you'll get all the notifications right there. So, officially, that'll be it. Thank you all for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.